Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Rangru. Hello, hello, hello.
First of all, folks, welcome to 2022. And as we see lightning striking the field, we are on Orsha North. Rang, who do we have? What's going on?
Left-hand side in blue, we have Gonzo playing as 97th Guards Infantry for balanced income. Right-hand side in the red, we have Yamin, exclamation mark, playing Task Force Butler with a Maverick incoming. Right off the bat, we're seeing almost an F-35 and F-5, but he is getting some good reconnaissance on.
Yeah, I mean, super fast flying here. And actually, I really like this idea. I think a lot of people just go so hard into, I don't care what the enemy has, I'm going to throw everything forward. But I think there's a lot of wisdom here by Gonzo. So what might we expect from this kind of, 97th, excuse me, from Yamin, rather, from Task Force Butler over here against 97th?
Yeah, both just pretty good infantry divisions. I'd give a slight advantage to Yamin, just you get a bit better medium tank spam compared to Gonzo's more IS-2 focused division. But right off the bat, we're seeing a heavy push here from Yamin. A lot of light armored vehicles and support weapons supporting this push. And Gonzo does have the guards, and he does have the T-34s being brought in, but this is a great piece of aggression so far from Yamin.
And the thing we kind of have to watch out for is, yes, we do have things like the Scot who's bolting for the rear, and indeed he's redeploying. He's tactically redeploying, excuse me, to that southern hillside here, but I kind of really like this push. I feel like the M8 Scot doesn't get anywhere near the amount of play that it probably should earlier on in the match, and usually by the time we see it come out, it just seems so anemic.
Yeah, it's pretty decent in Task Force Butler, because you do have the support slots and not a whole lot of other armored vehicles to really support you. I mean, the lack of AP or heat shells really does limit its usefulness, but against infantry, it's a 50 cal. It's not that bad.
No, it isn't. We did see a Beaufighter just now make a gun run over here at the IS-1, a little bit further north. But it seems like most of the action here is going to be down in the south, as, like you said, big push, lots of infantry, lots of light vehicles. Do you think they have the ability to push this back?
I definitely would think so. I mean, Gonzo has a pretty good little platoon set up in the forest holding his own. And Yamin is actually, he's starting to get slowed down a bit. He has all support weaponry, but not enough infantry to really clear out forests. And Gonzo is starting to bring in up those T-34s and not a whole lot of anti-tank here from Yamin. He does have the 57mm, but that's really it.
Yes, folks, this is a 57mm. The Brits are not on the field, so we don't care about that
They're
shell.
in the sky instead.
That's true. That's very true. And indeed, taking a quick look across the map, 76-2 Obusiers. I mean, these guys are just kind of starting to pound those late rifle squads, and they are quite late. They haven't really brought any kind of anti-tank. They got out of bed too late, so they had to rush to the front. There's no AT.
No, and and they hit the bar the night before, as you can clearly tell.
Oh yeah, they hit 2 bars. In fact, they went pub crawling. And again, I mean that's always been the issue with this, isn't it? Is that you have to match your tanks in AT against the Soviet tanks, as opposed to kind of just being able to Jones on through and allow your infantry to at least start kind of causing criticals, causing small issues here and there.
Yeah, I mean, with Task Force Butler, you do lack a bit of infantry AT, so you see 3476s will prove to be a pain, but really only early on. There's only a single A-phase card, and after that, it's IS-2s and T-3045s, which are scary tanks, but there's much less of them you have to worry about. And on a map like Orsha North, it really just comes down to numbers.
It certainly does. Now, I do like seeing these Razvedozos down here in the south, and I'm sure I'm butchering that, but hey, it's been 4 years now, so why fix what ain't broken?
Or Russian.
Or what's never worked, more accurately. But I love seeing these squads. These squads kind of feel like Fusiliers almost to a certain extent. Got an upgrade, even more so. I don't know.
Yeah. The sniper helps out quite a bit. Just having big sniper squads is always a big benefit in this game. I mean, look at the Romanians. They have like bloody sniper riflemen.
Yep.
Squads. Yeah.
Yep.
They've seen the T-34s down south starting to do a good counter-attack here. Not a whole lot of anti-tank to really stop them. The Scots, very limited in effect, and we say it's going to come down to the 57mm.
Yep, not so great Scots down here. Not so great Scots. Oh, geez. Even this town's going to go over here. It's going to go rather Soviet pretty quickly. Tenko's getting on in there, and these guys, yeah, those rifles aren't going to go. They're just getting shredded. There's no way they can do anything.
Yeah, so a very good counter push here from Gonzo so far. He has the fire supports on the hill to back up his sort of town push. Well, not really much of a push, more of just a reconnaissance skirmish here. The big push is really just happening down south, and it's coming down to the T-34, so one does get sniped.
Now, I do like the fact that we do see the rifle leader. Unfortunately, the rifle leader is going to run afoul of that Tenko squad coming in the other direction. And, ooh, what's that coming on in? Ooh, PE2. And that, 57 mil, I don't think is long for this world. Neither is half the forest, but, yikes.
Hit through volume of fire, but that's actually a very big kill here, even though it's a very overkill for just one medium anti-tank gun, because that will open up the ability for the T-34s to plow on through. We do see another M1 gun being brought in, but apart from that, there's really not a whole lot of anti-tank here from Task Force Butler.
Not really, no, is there? Now, I do like the fact that we do see a couple of 37 mils over here from the Soviets, because he's got to keep that IS-1 alive. He's got to keep those later stage IS-2s alive as well. I mean, and we've seen this 1,000 times before. If Soviets get to late game with a balanced income, Maverick should lose to balanced every single day of the week and twice on Thursdays.
Yeah, it's just a strokey DP spam, and T-30, well, not T-34 spam in this case, is very powerful in those Russian-style divisions like this and 44th Guards. And, I mean, Gonzo has a lot of Guard DPs available, and those Guard DPs are just fantastic, especially against Task Force Butler, as those AT rifles can really force back those M8, cavalries, and Scots, and just make them not effective.
I suppose here's the question. Would the Scots have been better served creeping around this northern edge of the southern forest and maybe try to play to cut off this central part of position on the map, or is it just too much in the way of heavy equipment there?
He probably should have just maybe reinvested that into Wolverines or the NM4A1 Leader Sherman tank available to him. He just needed some heavier AT down south to really commit to his push a bit more effectively. There's only so much fire support one really needs.
That's fair. That's certainly fair. Now, WC down to the south, of course, that's the reason he's bringing in those anti-tank guns. Fortunately, not a whole lot's going to get on through. But the M15 should at least keep things more or less contained for half a second when it comes to the infantry. Regrettably, Yamin over here has given away his first... Well, he was down 13-11, let's put it that way. He was down a little bit. He was down a little bit more before. Yes, sir.
Not ideal for Maverick income.
Nope.
You really need to be leading the aggression. Like, now it needs to be starting to get a +2 at this point for a safe and secure victory, but alas, I mean, just losing the momentum down south has really screwed him over. I'm just looking, I mean, he could potentially try to push up north somewhere, but it's going to come down to the anti-tank problem.
Now, he did try to get the Rangaroo special with that Beaufighter, but the Beaufighter, he turned on the rockets, I think, a little bit too late, and the rockets were devastatingly inaccurate. And with that kind of happening, he just kind of donated a good chunk of materials, 125 points. That's the only one he gets. So a lot of those heavy tanks going to be very, very difficult to stop.
Yeah, and those airplanes are vitally important for Task Force Butler, just for the fire support capabilities. T-34 does go down south due to a 57 mil here, and I think Yamin is starting to stabilize a little bit in the southern flank, but he's lost a lot of territory considering his initial push.
And a lot of equipment, too. I think his entire card of Scots got put down here, and you can see one lone Scot. That's it. Everybody else is dead.
Scotty.
Exactly. No one's beaming him today.
Nope. But at least he's got lightning flying around, which is actually providing pretty good reconnaissance support. Yeah, and it's only 35 points, which is very reasonable for fast recon aircraft like that.
Well, the P-38J, too, is not inconsiderable and kind of gives him close ground support. Regrettably, that thing doesn't have, I think, the same kind of scariness that the Beaufighter does, but hey, maybe he can turn it around. He'll see.
Mm-hmm. They were just seeing, let's say the counterattack down south, but Gonzo is going to be countering the counterattack of counter off-map artillery.
Yeah, exactly. I think Yamin over here just activated his trap card. And Gonzo is ready to just make him pay for it.
Yeah, it's going to send him to the Shadow Realm.
Mm-hmm.
No, we got T-34 moving through the forest. He's going to engage a Scot.
And shockingly enough, does not land a single hit.
He bloody bounced off a Scot. Now that is a defective shell.
Unfortunately, here comes the Zook.
Ooh.
Yep, and that's the thing. That's the bait and switch you definitely want to be dealing with here.
Yeah, great snipe for the cavalry crouch. Also, he managed to snipe the off-map artillery right, the P-38, so he's only going to be suffering one of these strikes.
But that strike might be enough. As you can see, all of the Butler stuff over here in the meantime is just getting absolutely murked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Honestly, that wasn't too bad. He didn't take out many casualties, and he's going to be able to fall back in time before the guard DPs force him to surrender, so that could have gone much worse, really.
It could have gone much worse, yes, and here comes Strafniki to make it worse. Because at this point...
mate, Scott, what's he doing?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too.
He's holding.
Curious. PE2 in the meantime going to level that town, and I think pretty much secure at least one flag, if not two. There we go. Honestly, had he been able to catch that M1919, I think there would have been a very, very different map site there. Marquis Sarge, though, getting thrown on into the front, and I think we're going to be seeing an attempt to kind of rotate the battle space a little bit further to the north.
Yeah, I mean, the Marquis Sarge are going to be a pretty decent CQC fighter, as they do have that Raider trait bonus. And they are pretty decent. I mean, they have bloody Molotovs for 25 points. So the Molotov has been nerfed, but still, not a bad 25-point spam squad, so to speak.
True. True. Not a bad squad overall. Down to the south, though, I think we are going to see a more resurgent Soviet presence, even in the wake of something that's potentially kind of scary-ish. Wait, bomb in the middle, takes out an artillery piece, not able to pick out the Zis-2. Which means those Marquis Sarge, the first squad of the Marquis Sarge is going to go down hard, and the other guys are just going to pour on out well short of where they wanted to be.
Yeah, and we just have a whole horde of Strafniki pushing through the southern central position here. I mean, Yamin's making decent progress in the far south at least, but this southern central push is really going to make him think twice.
You know, you said he's making some good progress down here, but it is 16-8, so maybe...
Oh, not good enough.
No, sir. Marquis Sarge getting donated as well. I think it's very kind he's giving a free Marquis Sarge squads over here to guard DPs, but perhaps it might be better to force the Soviets to pay for it. Just thinking. Even a couple of rubles might be worthwhile.
Gotta make him pay somehow, but that forest push is really scary. He does have the 60mm mortar here, which is actually going to provide some pretty good fire support, as it can stress out stuff very quickly, as we're seeing. But he needs, an off-map artillery strike to clear that forest out and try to mop up the remnants. Oh, up north there's something happened. Marquis Sarge getting picked off. He's trying to move a little bit up here, but nothing major. And frankly, at this point for Yamin, I think pivoting to another area of the map would be a smart move.
I think so too. We're just kind of really examining the mortar kind of positioning here. You know, I think there's potential, but I don't think a single mortar is going to be enough to really kind of turn back this rising tide here.
No, it's just a lot of Strafniki. Those Strafnikis are 20-man squads. They take quite a lot of bullets to put them down. Yeah, and they're just so freaking good too. Like it's almost absurd. But there shall be another attempt. More Marquis Sarge getting tossed into the front. But one thing you might have noticed here, folks, is that when you look at Phase B, Yamin really only has 18 Marquis Sarge being brought on in, and I think a good chunk of them are already deployed or dead. Yeah. God damn, that is just a really scary force here down south here from Gonzo. He has the T-34 backing him up as well. I mean, up north, we're actually seeing a bit of play here from the Marquis Sarge. He might be able to have to get into that town. There's not a whole lot of defenses, yeah. The other, I don't know, like one guard DP or two Southwestern is pretty scary.
Yeah, and the Superior's moving in as kind of like rough support over here too. I don't think we're going to see a crazy push there. I'm more fascinated to see what happens as the rising tide of Soviet just like everything just washes on forwards. Like I kind of feel like we have just one giant, firing squad just kind of marching through this forest. No, I mean seriously, look at the weight of fire that was hitting the 57, just a minute ago.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
That's a lot of Strafnikis, and Gonzo's man's gonna make his way a bit more into that southern town. He has a larger presence there than before. I think by clearing his forest through, he can actually finish up what is left in that town.
It's certainly possible, I should think. 57 mil, did he claim that hero? Yeah, the hero's dead. He claims a T-34-76, so 57 mils are doing rather well in kind of keeping at least some of the vehicle pressure off of Task Force Butler. Regrettably, I don't think the Marquis Sarge, though, are really up to standing up to all this other, equipment.
Yeah, especially against the guard DPs and Strafniki. It's also helping quite a lot that Gonzo's keeping his leader units alive, and that is, buffing those Strafnikis up a star definitely helps out quite a bit in their effectiveness.
Indeed. We do see the Marquis Sarge, like you said, trying to get deployed to the far north. Indeed, they're getting into the trees a little bit. They did get into the town. I'm quite surprised by that, and they're continuing to push through. Wow, that's actually a pretty good push. Yeah, he really needs to try and follow us up. I saw those 105 Shermans earlier, which aren't really placed anywhere at all that offensively. He's bringing some more armor up north, so he's starting to re-pivot to the northern flank, which is a smart move. He needs to try to make something big happen here while he still has daylight, so to speak, with his B-phase income. Well, because if you look down to the south again, the last of the American, Western ally stuff has very much been cleaned up. So now his backlines are very, very secure. Marquis Sarge, the Marquis Sarge going into the trees, and I have to watch this madness. First guy's going to walk point. Oh my god, there's so many DPs just arrayed against them too.
Yeah, I think the DPs do have that minimum range though, so they're not going to be all that effective.
True.
So Marquis Sarge might be able to mob them up.
But they're still Papashas. So Molotovs are out, Papashas are clacking away, and these guard squads are actually not being sent in for support. Interesting.
Nope. Yeah, it's going to be able to, if he manages to get engagements like that with the Marquis Sarge, you can actually pick off those infantry one by one.
I do want to caution one thing. I will very quickly scoot back to the north, because the north, we are getting more and more equipment just kind of being very successful here, as you were kind of calling. Regrettably, there is just really one Sherman kind of keeping that push forward. If he goes down, I think everything kind of falls to pieces.
Yeah, it's just that useful fire support as well as anti-armor capabilities. As you see, when Yamin does have the anti-armor, he can actually push on through. He does have a second Sherman coming up to back him up. Hopefully his first Sherman can pop around down the hill and kill the T-34 for him, but he's getting shot at by long range from the IS-2, and there's more tanks coming in.
And that's the kill right there.
Yep.
And oh geez, and it's Svedkas too. So we have the scouting T-34s, which is even more terrifying.
But this is actually a pretty decent counter push here from Yamin. I mean, it's the same for him, yet it's happening so late, because once C-phase hits, income curve really screws you over as the Maverick income. And down south, I mean, Gonzo's gotten really good territory. There's really one more flag he can pick up, which is in the town, but he's in a very good position down south.
Oh, he absolutely is. And I don't know what really can be done other than just kind of these valiant P-38J strikes, and even then, not super successful on that. Reduction of that northern position is happening very, very well. And now we're into C. So let's see how Gonzo might be able to kind of clean this back up. 4 more squads disappear as we moved in. Yeah, this Marquis hard push is dead.
Yeah, it's once again it's the lack of anti-armor here from Yamin, which is really screwing him over. I mean, down south he does have some more M4s to back him up, and it's not a whole lot of anti-armor down here from Gonzo. It's really just that T-34. That one T-34. If he was to bring up some infantry, move up the Shermans behind him, he could start clearing up the Strafniki like one by one. It's slow, but he would be able to do it.
True. Now, one thing it is worth mentioning still is that there are Strafniki inside that little complex. So as he goes tootling on by, Strafniki is going to shoot him in the side with a PTRD from like 5 meters away.
Oh yeah, maybe not moving the tanks up by themselves is not a smart move here, Mr. Yamin.
Of course, as I say that, that's when the Strafniki, brilliance that never seems to work. But hey, Castor's Curse stays good. I guess it slides both ways there.
Okay, here we go. But there's another Strafniki coming in. He only got like a few chances to get that side armor shot before he turns around. And as you see, like, the Shermans perform really well in these sorts of engagements. It's a shame he did not have them earlier. Because right now, Gonzo's kind of out of the cheap medium tank spam. He's pretty much used up all his T-34-76s, or most of them. So now he's relying on IS-2s and T-30-45s, which are good tanks, but are really only useful in the central parts of the map, as we're seeing with that one IS-2.
True.
No, yeah, honestly, it's a good counterattack here from, like, Yamin. He's slowly making progress. The Strafnikis can't really do anything without, I mean, anti-tank rifles are scary, but Shermans are scarier.
Well, when the IS-2 rotates, and there's T-30-45 coming on in, the T-30-45, you're not going to take that without losses, and plenty of them.
Yeah.
And so, while for the moment, it's very fair to acknowledge the Marquis Sard kind of push, and the Sherman push for that matter too. Let's not conflate that with being, the.
Oh, Yamin's gonna lose 100%.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was just let's be fair here.
Yeah, like he's gonna lose, but he's getting these small tactical victories, and as we're seeing, when he's employing the anti-armor or armor unit with his pushes, he's managing to break through Gonzo's line. But at this point, Gonzo just has way too much, map consolidation, especially up north. It's completely collapsed here for him to win.
Okay, so that 2305, let's kick it up, sir.
Okay.
And there we go, +2. And T-30-45 being kind of half rushed, which is, I think, absurd because...
Go around the corner?
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen.
Sight shot him, mate. Oh.
In any case, IS-2 should be arriving on the scene shortly. I say shortly, of course, he's got to kind of waddle his way back down here to this part of the battlefield. So the second one just to the northern side of that forest. So yeah, I mean, those infantry from the task force side, not going to be aggressing west. What's he going to do? Oh yeah, look, more Marquis Sards. Big stinking deal. You know, to the northern side? I'm sorry, please.
No, it was Marquis Sards are like decent infantry, but once again, it's lack of anti-armor because it's the T-34s mopping everything up here.
I do like to see the Commandos Day of Freak, but these guys, despite the fact that they are deadly, deadly fighters, not really made to be fighting on the Russian steppe. And you can see here's going to go to Ultimate Cheekies. I imagine these guys are going to melt rather quickly. And yes. Yeah. Yes.
Honestly, I feel like, I mean, Yamin's going to lose this, like, fair and square, but maybe if he was balanced, he could have maybe, like, pulled his back. He's starting to get a little bit of counter momentum now, but it's, like, really too late for him, and Gonzo manages to really kick his ass so early on, but, yeah, I mean, good play for Gonzo, just the Strafnikis are very scary.
You know, and I wonder, too. I mentioned the fact that I loved seeing the early M8s, but maybe I have to back away from that. Do the M8s have a place in an early task force Butler push?
I think are good as like a supplemental tank, but your priority should be Wolverines and Shermans and M8 cavalry Greyhound with your pushes, because he had so much. He only had the Scots. He had no dedicated anti-armor, and just like with 2nd Infantry Division, you need like armored vehicles because your infantry cannot hold by their own against armor. The Russian infantry can somewhat with the PTRDs. Anti-tank grenades, which they sometimes get, but the task force infantry, I mean, that match really came down to just not having the anti-armor from Yamin.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We're looking at kills and losses over here. Nothing too crazy. I mean, we have one T-34-76 over here for Gonzo, who's got 3 M8 Scots. We got and the cavalry, big deal. Other than that, nothing too crazy. Just kind of standard stuff.
Yeah. Losses, it's nothing really crazy. Everyone was kind of doing their part.
Indeed. So, folks, welcome to 2022. Happy to have you guys along with us. Any final thoughts about this, sir?
No.
Oh, folks, in that case then, here's to another good year. See you later this week. Until then, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.